Tonight, I will show you very quickly and in very simple terms these three realities to help you understand your identity in God. Genesis 1 verse 26. Let's look at the order of our creation. It said, God said, let us make man in our own image. There were many images on earth, but God chose himself. There were princes in heaven. There were archangels. There were principalities. There were dominions. There were thrones. God could have created us after any of them. But God decided to give us an identity that can only be found in him. The reason understanding your creation order is important is because one thing it will reveal to you is that you are a photocopy. The original of you is your designer. You were created to mirror God. That means you can never know who you are until you know who God is. Everything God is who you are. It said, let us make man in our own image, after our likeness. And it said, let them have dominion. So if they are functioning like me, dominion will be a byproduct. And when you read the whole of that scripture, you will discover that everything the man had in the garden was not his own. It belonged to God. Number one, the man's nature was not his nature. Let's make man in our own image. That image speaks of God's nature. Number two, the man's character was not his character. It was God's character in our own likeness. Number three, let them have dominion. That authority was not the man's authority. It was God's authority. Number four, the place where God put him was called Eden. Is the atmosphere of God's presence. That means the man's environment was not his environment. It was God's environment. And finally, God planted the tree of life, Genesis 2:9, in the midst of the garden for the man to eat. That means the life the man had was not his own. So if you want to know who that man is, who to study is not the man, is God. The man is an extension of the original copy. It's just like you bring a document to an office and it's a photocopy. When they want to verify the authenticity of that document, they will look at the photocopy. They will tell you where is the original. That means if you want to know who man is, you will look at God, not man. Because the identity of the man was superimposed on him from God. This is what God was talking about. He said, ye are gods, because you are the children of the Most High. So he gave you the reason why. The word children there is not talking about biological offspring. It's talking about the one that proceeds from God. You are the offsprings of God. He said, because you are my offspring, you carry my DNA. So what I am is what you are. So I am God, but you are flesh hosting God. So you can find yourself when you find me. If you now understand this, the way you live your life becomes different. That means anything God does, I can do. That's the impact of identity. That means anything God is, I am an extension of. So nothing can define you anymore. This is why you can be on a job and somebody looks at you and say, you this common cleaner, get out. You say, no, I am cleaning here, but I'm not a cleaner. I carry the DNA of God. Somebody can look at you and say, where is this gate man? Come here. I am not a gate man. I am watching the gate, but I am more than a gate man. Divinity is on my inside. So your occupation no longer defines you. Your creation order is what defines you. Your territory no longer defines you. Your creation order is what defines you. The Bible said God breathed into his nostrils, and the man became a living soul. So we were actually not created. We came out of. The reason it was called creation is because the raw material for making us was nowhere on earth. Creation means bringing into existence what was not in existence. So when we talk about creation, it's not like we were literally made. We were not made. There's no material for making us. When God gathered the dust together, the Bible said God blew into it and the man became. So we actually came from within God. We are an uncreated reality put in dust so that we can become creation. Ideally, the substance for making us came from within God. So when you tear a man open, what you will find is divinity. You see why people like us cannot believe that anything can destroy us. You see why people like us cannot believe that any circumstance can pull us down. Because when you open me, you will find divinity. I am God's address. God hides inside me. God tabernacles inside me. God dwells inside me. That was a technology that never existed before. When you look at the angels, their glory is on them. Why? They were made from precious jewels. So you look at some angels, they are like jasper. You look at some angels, they are like sapphire. You look at some angels, they are like coals of fire. You look at some angels, they are like light. But when you look at the man, flesh is what you will see. You can't see what makes him. Because if you see it, you will see God. That's why God decided to hide it. So that you don't make the mistake of thinking there are many gods. He hid his essence inside the man. So that when you find a man who knows himself, he will manifest God. He said, I have said, ye are gods. And I didn't just declare it. I said so because you are the children of the Most High. Have you given birth to a child and it has another DNA? What's the proof that your child is your child? DNA. If they can't find your cells in that child is not your own. They should go and look for the father. But the reason you are called a child of God is because his DNA is here. And if his DNA is here, anything that cannot happen to him cannot happen to you. Anything he can do, you can do. This was God manifesting the greatest form of love by extending his ability into created beings. So that when we see men, we don't see men, we see God.